It's for All Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the AllSports Podcast with me, Matt, and tonight, Joel. How are you, mate?
Hey Matt, all good, thanks mate. How are you?
Great, thank you. And James, how are you?
Yeah, all okay. Relegated back into third position.
And Femi,
I'm good, thank
how are
you.
you?
Best for last, you know what I mean? How are you, mate?
We say save the best for last, but I did put the message out in the group that last one onto the pod tonight is on probation because we needed to start on time because we're all tired because we all caught the Masters. So you had 1 week off probation and now you're back on it. So on performance review.
He's not talking to me.
Yeah.
He absolutely is. And really good to hear that you caught your first golf tournament this weekend. And what a one it was to catch. James, do you want to give us the rundown from the weekend? I guess we can start where we finished last week we were speaking about the par 3 contest was going on when we last recorded. And then we head into day one of the Masters, and it kicks off with McIlroy and Justin Rose, pretty much.
Yeah, day one was sort of starting with what we really missed from some of these competitions, which was a leaderboard stacked with people. Rose went out on day one and shot 65 and 7 under par after one round, and everyone's going, oh, this is going to be a really low-scoring tournament again. But yeah, I think what was the best thing about day one was the fact that you looked at that leaderboard, Rose, Scheffler, Aberg, Hatton, DeChambeau, there was just names everywhere. And it was up to be stacked, and it was a great, indication of what we're going to get for the next 3 days.
What we thought from day one was probably Rory's not out of it, but he's probably not in it. Shooting an even par round, although he was 4 under after 14 holes.
Yeah, Rory 4 under after 14 holes. On the 15th, he's 200 yards out into a par 5, and he walks off with a double, with another double up, 17 or 18 to finish level par. And you could hear everyone went, oh, here we go again. Rory McIlroy's going to bomb himself out after day one. I think that was really the story of the weekend. Rory, going flying ahead and then pegging himself back. People weren't pegging him back. He was doing it to himself.
Yeah, the weekend was his based on actual golfing performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you break down the stats, Tee to Green, for the first 3 days, it was really, really solid. There's I think the stat after Friday, he came out and said, I've played 34 out of these 36 holes absolutely perfectly. And 2 of them, just had huge wobbles on. But yeah, going to the weekend, he left himself in contention, which is not something he always did or has done in the past. So yeah, he was probably very happy with his Thursday and Friday overall. When I went into the press on Friday afternoon and they were giving it, what does this say about McIlroy? And he was a bit, nonchalant about it. I know I can do this. I know I'm resilient. It's just everyone else that has a lot to say about me.
It was interesting that he didn't talk to the press though on Thursday night for the first time.
Yep.
Ever in his career, I think, other than I don't think he was as chatty after the US Open last year.
Yeah, he left after the US Open final round, but he's been very supportive of Morikawa recently doing the same thing. And I think we'll get onto it later, but Lowry had similar comments like these guys are coming straight off the course and they're doing interviews. And it's a very charged competition. Everyone's very emotional after these rounds, and people are going to get themselves in trouble if they go straight and do media duty afterwards.
Which we F1 fairly regularly. You see some pretty immature and emotional comments. You see it on the radio because you get the live broadcast of what they're actually saying mid-competition. So, I mean, excluding that, you get a few remarks on the golf course that get picked up on the mic, but usually it's pretty tempered.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, you're gone.
I was just going to say, I do think it's it's a bit different with golf as well because it's just them. If you're a football manager, you can come out and say a bunch of things about other people, about the refs or whatever. If you're a golfer, it is really just okay, how would you deeply analyse your own performance today, right now, whilst you're upset? Yeah. It's I could say anything.
It's also the timing of it. You consider a football team, they tend to go and have a team talk afterwards, a bit of a cool down, and then they'll go do media duty. They've calmed down. These guys are rolling straight off the 18th hole when they're being put in front of a microphone. So you can understand some of the comments that are being made or not made.
So he put himself into a little bit of a bubble, and Bryson said something interesting that I saw in an interview. They asked him when he'd come off. He said, how's Rory feeling? What's he saying? And he said, didn't say a word to me all day. Not one single word.
After the final round, was that?
Yeah.
Really? He did say he was nervous, though, didn't he? Rory said himself in the interviews afterwards how nervous he was.
Yeah, his caddy said something interesting. I think Rory said it. His caddy said as they were getting the buggy back to the start of the 18th, he said, "Well, we'd have taken this. We'd have taken this on Monday morning."
Yeah, it was just like resetting him, that's the biggest job of the caddy. He's probably made 10,
Yeah.
20% of the earnings this week, and he's had to pick his player up after a bit of a devastating moment. I think that's where Harry, his caddy, gets a lot of flack for not being a traditional caddy and being very pally with Rory growing up. But that's what he needed. He needed his mate to go, "Come on, mate, like this is okay. We're in a playoff of a major here," to just sort of turn his head back.
Especially if you know Rory as well and you know his history in the tournament. It's like whatever's happened doesn't really matter now. We're in a playoff to win, so let's just go and do that.
Yeah,
Do you ever get players go from caddies to golf players?
no, but they do it the other way around. Most caddies are really serious players. Like they're just probably not good enough to go. They are unbelievable players in their own right. So caddies are used for like yardages, shot club selection, reading green. So they know the game inside out. They're not just like, "Oh, I'm here for a chat." They are like supremely talented at what they do. The argument about McIlroy has always been that if he'd had a quite an older caddy who's been there, done it, seen it, he might
Which he did have. He had JP Fitzgerald until 2017.
He's had that, but he went to, I can't remember Harry's surname, but he's basically like a long-term friend.
Diamond?
Maybe Diamond, yeah. And he thinks that he'd rather be out there with someone that he trusts, like he can keep him calm on a friend level. But, that's taking a lot away from, he's a great caddy as well. It's just the argument has always been whenever Rory blows up, "Oh, he hasn't got a proper caddy," which is just nonsense.
I mean, it's like, would he have done the Grand Slam sooner with JP on the bag? Now, like retrospectively, it's impossible to tell, but he's now done it, and he has done it with Harry. So
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think if you look at that round 4 specifically, like the amount of ups and downs he had in one singular round of golf is what most people go through over a weekend. So doubling the first, bringing himself right back into joint lead after one hole was like a nightmare start, and then he birdied 3 and 4, and it's like, "Oh, I'm bouncing back." Doubles the par 5, goes back and makes a birdie up 17. Like he's just always bounced back, and I think a lot of that comes down to him being kept. Like, "Rory, you're fine. Just go."
Yeah. With Bryson blowing up alongside him, it can be easy to. Well, I've seen it in like previous tournaments that if one of them goes, they both like start to struggle, and especially if like Bryson's trunching away to himself or whatever, like it can be distracting, can't it? So you think that probably might also be why he didn't really engage with him that much, because it's like. I can't be involved with somebody who's in that headspace. I need to be in my headspace where I need to be so that I can play the game that I need to play.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
actually, James, didn't you say you'd heard Rory encouraging Bryson?
Huh?
I thought you said on the WhatsApp it still encouraged Bryson, like something had happened, but he still goes.
No, that's getting cut. I actually think slightly
Oh
different.
no, Joel said he's giving Bryson encouragement, but I think you were talking
talking
specifically about he's coming back to him.
How loose he was off the tee. It was like that was around hole 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, doesn't he?
Rory was scoring, but he was so loose off the tee, and it was just like if you were like Bryson was still banging it at that point. I think he was still on 10 under at that point, maybe 9 under, and yet it just felt like he was showing weakness, like he was showing that he could be got at. Maybe I mean the way that it transpired, it wasn't even Bryson who was competing with him.
Yeah, I think the interesting one between Rory, you might say about not wanting to see your competitor playing that badly. I think he probably enjoyed it a little bit. I do think like that US Open will still have stung. I think playing with Bryson could have been a worst case scenario for him because they're both ding dong. They want to hit it. They want to hit it past each other. And if Rory got outside of his own bubble and started going, "Right, I'm going to hit it past Bryson. I'm going to do that," he'd have probably fallen apart. And I was scared that it was a Bryson and Rory final grouping.
I was feeling like there was a bit of influence on that because he was wild off the tee, but he was just finding every single bunker. I mean, he wasn't finding as many bunkers as Oberg.
Yeah.
Who found the same bunker, and then he went bunker to bunker straight afterwards.
The weird thing was about the bunkers, the first 2 holes, I think they calculated it something like a foot. He missed the 2 bunkers by a foot, and it cost him 2 shots over the 2 holes. So it could have easily gone the other way, and he just started fine and settled in. But yeah, it's just fine margins, isn't it? I do think the interesting thing about Bryson, he is perceived as playing quite well this weekend because he was second, but because I watched all weekend, he was scrapping around. Like he wasn't. fairways and greens and making putts. Like his scrambling was unbelievable. And I said to you guys, like he was over-indexing on how he should have scored to how he was playing, and it just sort of unravelled a little bit on the final day.
Can't do that for 4 rounds, can you?
You can't do on the Sunday at the Masters. You have to be 100% behind your game. The way some of those pins were set up were like diabolical as well, and it just sort of, those gaps that were there on the first 3 days really came to the forefront on Sunday.
I think it's why these 4-day tournaments are so important, really. Like they properly test you. They're like a genuine test of your ability to put rounds together, and you might be able to scramble through 1 or 2, but you're never scrambling through 4.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point about the 4 rounds, and it's the same point they make about the Grand Slam. Like to achieve the Grand Slam, he's the 6th golfer ever to do this. It's the 4, because the majors are quite different. You have to pretty much master golf. So the Open in the UK, super windy, linksy, a really different test to the PGA, which is, a bit more of a glorified PGA Tour event, and the US Open, which is, again, difficult, rough, long greens, long fairways. And then the Masters has its own test. Like they're 4 very different golf tournaments, which is why a lot of people don't win all of them. And it's just a culmination of 20 odd years of McIlroy doing this that he was able to put them away.
And some amazing players don't win one. Like that's a factor as well. And I think obviously Rory's resilience has been spoken about a lot in the last 24 hours, and I think there is so much focus on his mentality mostly because of 2010, isn't it? Because of what happened in that round
last year, yeah.
And last year was but it had built up before that, I think. Last year it felt like history repeating itself a little bit or whatever. But when you think about some of the other players on this tour, and like the one that I think of is Jordan Spieth, who really set on fire, really was winning lots of majors, and hasn't gone back from that yet. He's still young, still a great golfer, whatever. It could happen for him. He doesn't have that kind of narrative around him the way that Rory does. It's a bit different, but Rory's a bit of a sweetheart of media or whatever. But it's been so long since that happened, and the narrative have built up so much. So to do it, I think, is incredible. Like the amount of resilience that takes is just astonishing, really.
Yeah, it's 10 years of him turning up at this competition and going, no, he's got no chance, he's not a major. Like you said, it's an individual sport. It's hard not to take that personally. People say, I am a golfer that they think they can never achieve again. And I think it was Paul McGinley was running through it after he'd won yesterday. He was talking about the mentality of golf and how you need resilience to bounce back. And I think the difference between good golfers and great golfers is the mental game. Like you can have great golfers with good golf swings, and you could have good golfers with great golf swing, but they don't have the mentality to match it, so they never get as good as they should do. I think fundamentals only take you so far. Like it really is a sport that's between the ears.
And that's why Scheffler has been so dominant over the last couple of years, is because he's got the highest percentage of bounce back ability. So bouncing back from bogeys is Scheffler's forte. If he ever gets a bogey, then he bounces back immediately. 70% of the time bounce back.
But he was a bit of a hothead when he first came through. It was when he first joined up with Ted Scott, who's his current caddy. Ted Scott didn't want to join him because he said, you are too much of a hothead. You need to calm down. And that's something that they worked on. You can see how
and they're mates. They're mates, aren't they?
They weren't really working together before, but now they're super close. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know if it was like a don't want to wreck the friendship kind of deal. Yeah. So some of the players that are probably close to all-time greats, but they won't be because they've not won majors. I mean, it's going back a little bit, but Colin Montgomery, mental that he's never won a major. Steve Stricker, the greatest putter of all time, has never had the rest of the game to win a major. Luke Donald, who was number 1 and had a flawless year, except for winning a major. 5 he got tied 3rd was his best. Ricky Fowler as well, there or thereabouts. So interesting with Jordan Spieth, you said about him, he is kind of next cab off the rank alongside Scheffler to be going for the Grand Slam. Spieth has just got the US PGA to go. So every year that's there for him as well. And that is starting to rack up in the years. And he's kind of the next one that's got the potential to get it, him and Scheffler.
I slightly disagree with the Spieth point. I think the reason Rory's always had this narrative is because he wins quite a lot. He just doesn't win majors, and the people know he can win golf tournaments. Whereas Spieth he's won recently. He's been in and around a hunt, but he is so erratic that he's never putting 4 rounds together, 18 holes a day, and not making huge mistakes. I think that's the point of Jordan Spieth is a good technical golfer, and during that run, his mental game was flawless. Like he wasn't worrying about his swing, he wasn't worrying about anything. He was just going out and playing golf. And I can't remember which pro said it, but he was like quite envious of Luke Clanton, who's like the amateur coming through at the moment. He's the best amateur in the world. He's got his PJ Tour card already. And the guy was saying, "Oh, this is great, but you have to look how he swings the club after his first crisis. Like your professional game doesn't start until you have
So,
by your swing." Which Spieth only had after he's won 3 majors.
yeah, Scotty's temper seems to be coming back a little bit, actually. Seen it this year, smashing his bag to pieces.
Yeah, looks a bit
Ala,
yesterday as well.
Ala James, he's probably got a dented golf bag too. So you're in good company, James.
Yeah, all the talented players do it.
I feel like
But
golf
yeah, I think
players
I
is
just
very
want to.
similar to tennis players in
Yeah,
terms of the temperament. Just like, and I think it's probably back to your point, Joe, about how it's just them.
Mm.
And their mindset going into it, and it's such a grueling round. You're probably going like 3-4 hours, playing the same game, and sometimes it's you're losing certain sets, you're losing different holes.
Big momentum shifts, isn't
Yeah,
it?
big momentum shift. So it's
I think that change of state is so key as well. Like on the Sunday in the run in, like I was kind of obviously I wanted Rory to win, and I'm kind of feeling just Rose into the clubhouse really. I don't want him on the golf course anymore. I want him to get his score, go away, because then Rory's not worrying about that anymore. What's he doing on the a couple of holes in front of me? Is he getting a birdie again? What's that raw? Then he can just kind of, he knows he's on 11 under or whatever he goes into the clubhouse on, and he can focus on hitting that number.
yeah, that was the big thing.
Well, he spoke about it with Bryson from the US Open last year, didn't he? That he was hearing the cheers and he was having to wait for him to take shots. And Rory's not good at waiting anyway, but he's having to wait for the guy that is chasing him to play his shots before he can play his. And there's something about that, about the person being on the course and hearing the cheers, hearing the oohs, and knowing that they're hearing yours as well. It's better that it's just you and your game and you're the last man out.
Yeah, I also think that's just sort of Rory's game, though. He's never been great at being hunted. He's always been the guy that chases down a score. And I think it happened twice yesterday. One was on 17, 16, when, Rose had posted his score. I think he'd made birdie up 18 and he knew that 11 was the number. And being, it was probably at 15, when he realised he was dropping shots and he had to make that eagle, he makes a birdie. The shot into 15, those haven't seen is the iron. The second shot into 15 is probably the best golf shot I've ever seen. For the moment, it is for the context behind the shot, being blocked out and hitting it to 4 feet for eagle. I've never seen a shot better than that watching golf. I know there's going to be arguments about it, but he's come up when he knew he needed a shot and he was chasing someone down. His mentality switches from I've got to play safe to I've got to put this near the hole.
Well, is it McGinley? Is it Paul McGinley? Is that his name, the analyst?
Yeah.
He was talking about his aggression getting him out of trouble a lot of the time, wasn't he? And it was, I think Rory realised that from 15th onwards, maybe 14th onwards, I've just got to be aggressive because there were a couple of tentative moments. And I think he realised whether that was like advice from the caddy or Rory taking that on himself. I think he just started being aggressive again.
The minute he stopped was the second shot into 18 and he blocked a wedge into a bunker. And it's like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, I think it was a little bit before that. It was on the 10th. He'd just gone 4 shots ahead on the 10th hole, and then going to the 11th, he went into his shell. He went into just getting round bogey free, and what that actually did was his score just went tumbling down.
I
But
think
you said about
the holes they were playing, I think 10, 11, 12, people do start to play a bit more conservatively around aim and corner. I saw the same thing, like he was definitely a bit more wobbly off the tee and, going through those 3 stretch of holes, he was defensive. But I think that's an area of the golf course rather than, there'll be some context behind it. It's the back 9 of the Masters and the 10th hole was where it all blew up for him 10 years ago. He was going onto that going a bit like, oh, I'm going to have to hit. I think he hit 5 wood off that tee. Like, he wasn't going
to 4 or 5 clear at that point as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But yeah, you saw, when he had to go like shot into 17, you could hear him like crying his ball forward, like I have to hit this all over the pin. And then interestingly, the playoff hole, like he had the exact same shot that he had the hole before, and he went, "I'm going to have to make birdie because Rose put it close," and he does.
Well, that was the aggression you spoke about. Paul McGinley spoke about is having that mental edge that Rosie put it to 10 feet and Rory put it inside him. He had to do a pin seeker, and he did.
It was probably the best thing for him that Rosie put it near the green.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And Justin Rose, who's had a phenomenal career and is still having a phenomenal career, and he's played himself back into the Ryder Cup, and he'll be Ryder Cup now.
He was just so solid over the first 2 days was great. Third day, not so much. And then he started pretty poorly on Sunday. Rosie's just one of these competitors that if he gets in, he thinks he's got a chance. He just puts his head down and graphs out a score. I think on the back nine, he might have made 2 pars and he made 10 birdies across Sunday, which is just unheard of.
That's incredible.
The Masters. So yeah, I think that's his light. His fire has been relit ahead of the Ryder Cup. There was talk that, is he going to get too old? He's 45 now, but this is some of the best golf I've seen him play, so it's great.
He's got to make a future Ryder Cup captain, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah, the leaderboard actually is very interesting. Is very interesting in terms of the Ryder Cup. You got McIlroy, Rose, and Oberg on there, and then you've obviously got Reed maybe in contention, probably not, but you've still got Scheffler, DeChambeau, Schauffele, and it's going to be a very, very good Ryder Cup later on this year. I'm glad that we've got the Ryder Cup. Last year it kind of fell away after the majors. We didn't really have a lot of golf coverage, but the Ryder Cup I feel like is going to be the pinnacle this year now.
Gonna have to get Sammy.
I love it so much.
Have to explain all the different formats of golf and the point system. We're going to have a great time, Femi.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like the head-to-heads that you're going to get. It's going to be McIlroy versus Scheffler or McIlroy versus DeChambeau. It's just going to be phenomenal. Or Oberg versus DeChambeau. Like, you've got some great potential lineups.
Did you see, Oberg 3 putted the last or something, made an 8 up the last? It's $500,000 that hole.
Is that how much it was?
Yeah, $500,000 for that hole. Yeah, bit of a mistake, but he's going to win a major pretty quick. Like obviously, I said I tipped him this time, but I think one of them this year, if not definitely next year, he'll be winning a major. He's too good not to.
I think PGA for him would be a likely one. He can dominate a course. He nearly dominated this course, like you said. If he could putt, and this is an incredibly difficult course to putt on, but there's going to be a PGA that suits him.
Yeah, I'd also say, just to round off the Masters chat, I think now that Rory's got this monkey off his back and he's got the Grand Slam done and he's won a major again, I think there's every chance he wins like 4 or 5 more. He's just always there and thereabout when he's playing like this.
Yeah, I think he's got great potential now to do the double Grand Slam. I don't think there's any reason why he can't now go on and do the double Grand Slam. The form that he's on and the age that he is.
He's only 5.
He's getting better with age for sure. He's got another 5 or 7 years playing in this. If he can keep this, he still feels like he's adding shots to his game. So it could be a very exciting rest of the 2020s for Rory McIlroy.